So several months ago, Jon Schnepp broke that Tom Holland would cameo in the Venom movie. Now, after Infinity War and that crazy ending, the internet is scrambling and scratching its head wondering how that could be possible. In this video, I'm going to explain what is happening, how Tom Holland could still be in the Venom film, and give a general update on the Venom movie. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. If you love comic book movies, subscribe to this channel. We cover all aspects of those types of movies. Quickly, I need to shout out Jimmy Reaper, who got the nerd card question correct in my Venom movie news video. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to comics, so shout out to you, Jimmy. We'll do another nerd card question at the end of this video. Okay, so we need to talk about the Venom movie. Been a little bit since we have. So I'll get to the most current news and what I think about the movie in just a bit, but we have to talk about Tom Holland. Like I said, Jon Schnepp broke that Tom Holland was going to be in the Venom movie. He apparently was on set for at least a day. But now, after he dissolved into nothingness at the end of Infinity War, a lot of people are like, wait a minute, how could that be? Also, none of the marketing tends to indicate anything Spider-Man at all. But that's kind of a different thing. So let's talk about what we know for sure and mix that with some speculation. So let's talk about the rights to Spider-Man first. The current arrangement between Marvel and Sony is kind of an unprecedented arrangement. Amy Pascal even talked about this in an interview from last year where they were talking about how the agreement is so crazy and it might never happen again. I don't know if you remember this, but at that time was the first time people were like, wait a minute, this deal's gonna end? And that's important to note because it goes with some of the theories I have about what is actually happening here. But currently, Marvel and Sony are on an arrangement that is not permanent. This arrangement allows for Marvel Studios to use the version of Spider-Man that they helped create with Sony in the MCU movies. In turn, Sony is getting big bucks on the Spider-Man solo movies, which are still produced through Marvel Studios. This contract is for 6 films. So you have a trilogy of sorts of solo Spider-Man films. You had Civil War, you had Infinity War, and you're probably going to get him in Infinity War 2 because a lot of us believe that those characters are coming back. Plus, I'm pretty sure we know that Tom Holland shot Avengers 4. Like, I'm pretty sure that information is out there. So those would be the 6 films. And once those 6 films are finished, the contract that Sony and Marvel have would have to be renegotiated or the rights would completely revert back to Sony. And basically, Marvel would not be allowed to put Spider-Man in their films. So you got to think about what Sony's plan would be here. Now, when the Venom movie was first announced, I remember doing videos about it and thinking to myself and talking to you guys, explaining that I think this could all be leverage. So this Sony Marvel universe, this Black Cat movie, this crazy Venom movie, all of these different films that Sony is supposedly developing for Tom Holland, Spider-Man, I thought originally that these were just chips to put on the bargaining table. Basically saying, hey Marvel, you have to give us way more money and give us way more of a cut here because we could just take this character now and we have this whole shared universe set up for him. It's also possible Sony thinks that they can do this all without Marvel anyways. I mean, the films that Tom Holland Spider-Man are in are always going to exist. So if Tom Holland goes to play Spider-Man in strictly Sony films, I mean, that's going to feel like a natural through line. And even if the Sony movies aren't that great, they're going to benefit from what Marvel did with the Spider-Man character. Now, on the other side of things, Marvel's plan is pretty simple. They want Spider-Man. I mean, they probably want those rights back completely, and they are going to try to negotiate for more control based upon the success that they showcased with the character. So Homecoming did great. It made a ton of money. Civil War made a ton of money. Infinity War made a ton of money. And the merchandising for all of that, which honestly, I'm not sure if Sony sees any piece of, but I'm just telling you that like revenue is up on Spider-Man in general, which has to be good for Sony. So that's the basic idea of what is happening here. And the very interesting aspect, of course, is the Venom movie itself. The Venom movie does very well and is well received by fans. That is going to really help Sony's chances at the bargaining table. If it bombs and everyone's like, yo, screw you, Sony, just give the rights back to Marvel, it's gonna be much better for Marvel. Now, I have mixed feelings about this because at the end of the day, like, I do want Marvel Studios to have more control of the character, but I kind of have these feelings that, man, I don't want all of our superhero movies to come from Disney. Like, I just don't. Like, Logan was incredible. I like the Deadpool movies. Some of the Fox X-Men films are pretty freaking awesome. And not only would we just not get that many movies all coming from one studio, but I just fear that we'll Disneyfy those things and we won't be able to get that hardcore stuff that we have been getting from some of these other studios. But yeah, that's pretty much what I think is going on with the different rights. So it's possible that Sony's setting something up for Tom Holland after this contract. Okay, so let's talk about Tom Holland specifically. How could Peter Parker still be in the Venom movie considering what happened in Infinity War? I mean, there's three basic things that I think Sony will have to do. Number one, they could just ignore it. Like, they could just literally put Peter Parker in the film and just ignore everything else that was going on in Infinity War. And besides that, I mean, you have to kind of assume that this movie ignores Infinity War continuity in general. Unless half of the people on the planet are going to randomly die, and that's going to be a big, like, thing that happened in this movie, you can't really say that you're taking place in a timeline that's congruent with Infinity War. On top of all of that, I'm pretty sure all of that stuff's going to be undone. I mean, I believe we are going to revert the Marvel Cinematic Universe back to a place where half the life in the universe isn't just gone. That's a pretty safe bet. So either way, I mean, they could potentially just ignore that. And I know it's weird timing wise, but yeah, if it all gets undone, it's like it never happens anyways. You could of course also set Venom before the events of Infinity War. It could be taking place during Infinity War, but it all takes place before the snap. The other and very obvious answer to this is that it takes place after the Infinity War events, and like I said, I think everything's going to revert. Now, if you're asking me how much I think Marvel and Sony are communicating and how much this is going to make sense in like a shared universe sort of way, I'd say probably very little. I think maybe people at Sony were aware of what is happening in Infinity War because, I mean, Spider-Man's in it, so I would assume they knew what was going on. I also assume they knew that they're gonna kill the character, and I'm wondering if anybody at Sony Pictures was like, no, even though you're gonna revert it, it's still too confusing for our fan base. Spider-Man is our golden boy. Don't do it, Marvel! And then Thanos was like, shut up, you Sony motherfuckers. I don't know, it just popped in my head. So we know that they had to be communicating at least in some way, but I mean, are they going to tell Ruben Fleischer to do this movie and sort of drop little hints in the Venom film that explain easily to the audience why Tom Holland is in there after Infinity War? I don't think so. I don't really think that's a high priority for them. Also, in general, just the vibes that I get from the trailers and the marketing is that they are not going to make the Spider-Man character very important to this Venom at all. Now, I know for a lot of fans, that's a big problem, right? Like, that just doesn't make sense. Like, how can you have Venom without Spider-Man? The symbiote is rejected by Peter. Eddie Brock hates Peter Parker, and one of the things that the symbiote and Eddie bond over is their shared hate of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. That's also why the Venom symbiote has the big white spider on it, why it's kind of like a Spider-Man alien suit. But everything I'm seeing from the promotion for Venom makes it seem like they're just going with the symbiote sort of on its own. It is possible that they are going to tie it to Spider-Man, but I just don't know even how much they can do that. Now, to me, that doesn't bother me on the surface. Like, I need to see the film, and if it's very good and they do something slightly different than the comics, I'm totally cool with that. Even the MCU changes things from the comics, and at the end of the day, you have to serve the medium that you are making the art in, and they just have to make a great film. Now, I do want to say though that if they're just going to throw Peter Parker randomly into the movie just to sort of pseudo satisfy fans, and maybe you have this weird scene where the symbiote and Eddie get mad at this random kid for no reason, I don't know. I'm not going to be super down with that. I would almost rather not have Tom Holland in the movie at all than have him used in a way that is not the way that he's used in the comics, but that he's thrown in there to sort of make me happy as a fan either way. That'll feel shallow and super tone deaf to what fans actually want, which is one of the big complaints about Sony Spider-Man films. So if that happens, I might be a little bit pissed. Now let's talk about the actual status of the Venom movie itself. We have not actually had any news about Venom in some time. The last big thing that happened was the second trailer where we actually get to see the Venom symbiote in its full effects. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people hated that trailer and just thought it was a bunch of crap. I personally love the trailer and I love the look of Venom, but I was a little bit concerned with story-wise what I was picking up from the trailer. The plot seems pretty simple, and like I said, it seems to completely avoid Spider-Man or superheroes at all. I do not know how I'm going to feel about that, so there's that. I also think that Sony might be aware that the second trailer was not as well received, and I say that because the trailer they played in front of Infinity War was actually the first trailer. That seems like a really bizarre move, especially because one of the big complaints about that trailer was that there was no Venom in the Venom movie. They at least fixed that in the second trailer, so I'm really curious, why did Sony decide to put the first trailer out? I've personally shifted my expectations a lot during this roller coaster ride that is following the production of the Venom movie. I will of course cover the next big piece of news that drops. I'm really curious about the film. I'm hoping they pull it off. I would really love a nice hardcore R-rated Venom movie. Tom Hardy's an incredible actor as well. Apparently the script is super solid. So I don't know, like, I'm still excited for the movie. I'm curious how they're gonna pull it off without Spider-Man though. So that is how Tom Holland could still be in the Venom movie even after Spider-Man was disintegrated at the end of Infinity War. Also tried to explain the Sony Marvel deal a little bit better, so let me know if that makes a little bit more sense to you now. Also, just in general, let me know your thoughts about Venom. I mean, are you excited? Are you not excited? Whatever your thoughts, let me know in the comment section below. Alright, let's check that nerd card really quickly. There was a bully of Peter Parker that eventually wore the Venom symbiote in the comics. I want to know, what was the name of that bully character? Answer that question in the comment section below. You can click below to watch more dope videos. You can click our icon to subscribe to get all of our future content. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.